Praveen Mohan did a great video on the Madanikas of the famous Belur Chennakeshava temple. Kudos to the likes of Praveen for introducing the beauty of our temple architecture to millions. But then there is one thing that Praveen got wrong about the sculptors of the Belur temple. This video is to gently point this out, as not doing so would be a great injustice to the builders of the temple. Friends, once again, kindly do not take this as an attack on Praveen Mohan. It's not a personal attack. I'm just correcting one interpretation given by Praveen and seeing this from the light of the Bhagavad Gita. And why should you see this video till the very end? Well, if you do, from the incident that I'm going to share with you, you will know a new technique of excelling in whatever profession you are in today. So, what exactly is the big issue all about? Let's get right into it.
Here's a shawl, a part of her clothing, but look at the detail. It's designed like a seashell. It's carved inside hollow like a giant shell. This is extraordinary sculpting work. You don't need this kind of carving. The sculptor is basically just showing off that he can do it.
So here, Praveen says that the Madanika statue is so high up that the level of detail is hardly visible, and yet the sculptor has put this detail into. For what? As per him, it is for show off. Friends, let me explain why this is not the correct conclusion to make. In the same temple complex at Belur, just south of the main temple that Praveen analyzed, is another smaller temple but equally beautiful, and it is called the Kappe Chenigaraya temple. This is a smaller temple dedicated again to Lord Vishnu, but it has a very interesting history to it. What is Kappe? Kappe in Kannada means a frog. Are you intrigued? What has a frog got to do with this temple? Friends, legend has it that the chief architect of this temple was one Jakkanachari. He had just finished carving the deity of Vishnu, and the idol was about to be installed when a young man from the crowd shouted, "Stop!" He objected to the idol getting installed, stating that the idol had a flaw and was unfit to be used for worship. To prove his point, the young man applied some sandal paste on the whole idol. Everywhere the sandal dried off, but not on the belly of the idol. It was still wet. This confirmed the suspicion, and with the permission of the king, he took a chisel and opened the belly of the idol. And to the amazement of everyone, there indeed was a small puddle of water inside the idol, and out leapt the frog from it. Jakkanachari, the sculptor, was taken aback. For him, his art was not just a means of livelihood. It was instead an offering of love to Lord Vishnu. For Jakkanachari, a flaw in the idol meant a shortcoming in his offering of worship to Lord Vishnu. As per him, it was an offense that he had committed. So pained was he of this offense that he had committed that he voluntarily cut off his hand as a form of self-punishment. They say that the youth turned out to be the son of Jakkanachari by the name Dakkanachari. But that is another story for another day. The key point here is that this was the level of dedication of the sculptors, this was their ethics, this was their moral uprightness. Can people with such high integrity and character be accused of show off? Would a person interested in showing off cut off his hand if proven wrong? No, my friends. He would just move on to the next thing to show off, right? Wouldn't he? So let's understand this from another point of view. Praveen mentioned that the sculptor was trying to show off. But friends, for show off, the object needs to be visible in the very least, isn't it? It is so high that the detail is not even visible. How can it be show off when the audience is not even able to see the detail from the ground? This points to the fact that the sculptors were not doing the work for show off, not for personal gain, not for accolades, not for money, not for praise. These, my friends, were not their motivators. If these were their objectives, there was no need for them to carve such details at places that are not even visible to the common man. That the details are so elaborate in such inaccessible places is an indication that for these sculptors, the intended audience was not the king or the common man, but for these artists, God, Lord Vishnu was the audience. They were dedicating their work to Lord Vishnu. They knew that God was the consumer of their work. Whether the common man is seeing it or not is secondary. For them, what mattered was that Lord Vishnu is seeing right those places high up in the ceiling, which is not visible to the common man. The whole idea was that since God is the audience, God is the consumer of their work, the best things have to be given to God. Anything less than the best offered to Lord Vishnu was unthinkable for them. It was this attitude, my friends, that was the moving force behind the highest quality of output from these sculptors. Friends, whatever profession you are in today, be it an engineer, doctor, artist, when you do the work, you have a choice to do the work for money, fame, show off, or to do the work such that you offer the work or the results of the work to God. You have a choice to be mundane or divine. Friends, leaving you with this wonderful shloka from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 27. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Friends, this new year, do something really new, something transformative. Do consider taking a Bhagavad Gita for yourself and make it part of your life. You can get your Bhagavad Gita shipped to you anywhere in India. The link is in the description below. Hare Krishna.